Hello and welcome to my channel, The Orchid Hut. My name is Dana and thank you for taking your time today to watch one of my orchid videos. This is part 2 of a video that I did a little while ago where I showed you the terrestrial orchids in my landscape, and I was describing how I wanted to dig them up because they're growing in sort of very black, thick soil, and I don't think they're doing as well as they could. So I wanted to dig them up and get them put in pots for the spring of this year. And I wanted to try a terrestrial orchid mix from Repot Me. And that's what I'll be using today in the pot. And last time I showed you this sort of burgundy colored clay pot that I wanted to put my terrestrial orchids in. So I have this ready to go with the terrestrial orchid mix. And we're going to get started today on, first of all, repotting my Phaius orchid, or it's sometimes referred to as nun's orchid or nun's cap orchid. And before I had an opportunity to dig it up, it did freeze in my landscape, which happens from time to time, but it always does come back up from the rhizome. So after it froze, I went ahead and I dug it up and I just put it in this clay pot to hold it until I had a chance to get around to it. So today we're going to be taking it out of this temporary clay pot and getting the rest of the landscape dirt off of it, seeing what the rhizome looks like, and then putting it in the new mix. So let's see what we're working with here. Now, today in Southeast Texas, oh my goodness, a south wind like you would not believe. It's 80 degrees Fahrenheit, very warm, and by Friday of this week, Friday and Saturday of this week, it's going to be 35 degrees Fahrenheit again overnight. So we're in that period where we're just really swinging with the temperature. I am so anxious to get out my indoor orchids that can go outside around the orchid hut. I'm so anxious to put those outside, but not quite yet. Okay, so here's one. And you can tell right here that there's already a new sprout coming up right here. So this is a good time to be repotting. So that's one. And then the second one, let's see. I'm just cutting off the frozen tops. This one is not maybe quite as robust. However, it looks like there could be some new root growth right about there. So I'm going to be taking both of these and putting them in this pot. And I'm just setting them on top of the mix that I already have in here. You know, I'm not entirely certain if this is going to grow or what will happen. And then I'm going to take a little bit of the mix and put it on the top just to cover, not, you know, anything that's too deep. And then I'm going to go ahead and water that in pretty well. And I don't have the pot full all the way to the top, and that's perfectly okay. Once I water it in, I may need to add a little bit more mix to the top of the pot, but that's kind of how it looks for right now. All right, so I am going to go water this in. I'm going to clean up my mess just a little bit, and then I have 2 more terrestrial orchids to repot in another pot that's a twin of this one. So I'll be right back. Okay, so back with part 2 of repotting my terrestrial orchids. The first one had already been dug up as well, and it's simply this tiny little rhizome right here. You can see that there's a bit of a circular pattern on the top of the rhizome, and That's how I know that this one is the orchid, because it matches the other orchid, which also has kind of a circular pattern on the top. When I was digging the little tiny one up, I think I also got a piece of my toad lily because the roots were all entangled. So I'm going to go ahead and repot this in the same pot, just see how it does. But this one is Bletilla species Kate. And let me go ahead and put that one next to the tag in the top of the pot. And then I'll just put the little toad lily over to the side. I have an entire flower bed of these, so if the toad lily does not grow, that's okay. Okay, and then I'm going to make a little bit of a well for the next one, because this ground orchid, Bletilla striata, is much larger. It was still in the nursery pot, so it has kind of had an opportunity to start growth for this year already. I'll put that one right there. And all I really need to do is probably fill in with a bit more of the terrestrial mix, and this job will be complete, and then water this in. And make sure to always put the tag back. Okay, so I'm looking forward to these growing in pots this year, so I have a bit more opportunity to move them around in the landscape and adjust the type of light that they're getting, maybe water them a bit more carefully. And you know, as these update throughout the year, I'll be sure to add them to some of my chit-chat videos so that you can see how they're doing. Okay, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video or learned something new, please give it a thumbs up. The subscribe button will be coming up in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Thanks so much for watching, and talk to you next time. Dirt is not involved. Oh my goodness, the South Texas wind.